There was evidence, for example, in the case of the longest ballot committee, that there were organizers going around with nomination forms, and at the top where it said name of candidate, it was blank.
No way! We broke that.
I'm going to ask Mr. Perot you some questions about the so-called longest ballot committee, which you reference in your report. In the last election, this group targeted the Carleton riding, although prior to the last election, they targeted several by-elections, and then later targeted the Battle River Crowfoot riding in the recent by-election, with a total of 91 candidates in Carleton, a record 203 candidates in Battle River Crowfoot. Would you agree, broadly speaking, that the committee's tactic to flood the ballot with an endless list of candidates had a overall disruptive and negative impact on the electoral process in Carleton, in the prior by-elections, and in Battle River Crowfoot?
Certainly, it did have such an impact, and it was a challenge for a number of voters, especially those with disabilities, to be able to cast their ballot with such a long list of electors. And that is why, Mr. Chair, I've come to this committee in the past and recommended some changes to make sure that this can be addressed.
And just to sort of flesh out some of the challenges that this committee created. You referred to voters with disabilities. That would include voters with visual impairments, mobility issues, literacy challenges. Would that be correct?
That would include as well voters with dexterity to handle such a large ballot. People who are physically impaired, who have limitations, would also face a challenge.
So it negatively impacted on voter autonomy.
That is that's what we find, yes.
And further to that, in the Carleton riding, it resulted in longer lineups at the polls?
It certainly resulted in longer lineups. Of course, much longer processes to count the ballots, as we're aware. We had to advance the count for 3 hours for the advanced polls count during that day, and the count extended throughout the night.
All right, folks. So this is at the core of the problem with the longest ballot. And as Tanya will show you...
You're going to have to switch back to the other view first.
Yeah, because it won't fit.
It's not going to fit on that screen, look. Whoop. Sorry for everybody just hitting my mic, but this is the Carleton ballot. You can see how big it is. This I printed true to life, so this has the, what was it, 91 candidates on it. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like, I'm able to roll it up and deal with it, but when you are voting, you can't just roll it up like this. You have to fold it and fold it and fold it and fold it and then stuff it in the ballot box. So if you have, say, arthritis and you're having a difficult time manipulating your ballot, what are you going to do? I don't believe that the workers can really help you fold the ballot. So, like, it creates an issue.
Well, and the other issue is that the cost of these is far greater than what they would normally use for a regular ballot.
I want to follow up on Mr. Maloney's questions with respect to verifying the validity of signatures for nomination papers of candidates. Just so that I'm clear, is it the case that at present there is no verification done by Elections Canada, that when signatures are presented on the forms, that they're taken at face value?
Just to be clear, there is no counter information. We don't have on record the signatures of all Canadians to make that comparison, nor would the returning officers have the expertise. Signatures can change. So the very concept of verifying each and every signature to make sure that they're authentic is one that is incompatible with the nature of the
Well,
process.
so they're taken at face value.
There's a verification that these electors reside in the electoral district
Right.
and that the numbers are correct. If
That's what I was going to say. So, and I think that's what Cooper's asking as well. So because when you sign, because we've done this, when you sign a nomination paper for a candidate, we've signed this for our previous MP, you put in your name and your phone number and your address and all of that. So what Perot is saying is there's no way to verify that the signature belongs to the person that is who they say they are, but what they do verify is the address of that named individual to ensure that they are actually supposed to be at that address in the writing. So that's what they do verify.
And that the writing is, or that the address is in the writing.
Correct.
Especially after they change it.
Right, because you must be a resident of the riding to sign a nomination
Yep.
paper.
there are allegations of fraudulent behavior, then that can be addressed in the context of an investigation. That takes a lot more time.
So why not verify or audit signatures? I mean, there was evidence, for example, in the case of the longest ballot committee, that there were organizers going around collect with nomination forms, and at the top where it said name of candidate, it was blank.
No way! We broke that.
Hey!
That's wild.
Guess where that evidence came from, folks?
Holy smokes. Sorry, I'm trying not to curse on camera.
Wow!
That's really cool.
Wow! That's
wild. I got goosebumps. Like,
that's crazy. That sounds like our evidence made it into committee.
because we got those photos from the whistleblower.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. NP Nation's all over this too. Wow.
This is,
Up
you
high,
know,
Mrs. Brannigan.
this is wild to me because this is what I mean when I say you can make a difference. Like, we're just two dummies sitting here with a YouTube channel.
I'm not dummy.
Okay, me and Pixel then. But like, you know, we're not trained reporters. We're not journalists. We're not anything. We're just two Canadians who care about this country. And it was making us upset to see what was happening to our democracy, and so we got involved, and we started digging.
And this is
the difference you can have as a Canadian citizen.
And you know, this could be a result of why we're so careful with what we put out there, right? We don't put out unverified stuff. We don't put out claims that aren't backed up. So this is crazy.
Wild.
This is crazy. Man. Crazy. All right, I want to listen more. Okay. Well, Kalchuk for $2. How many committees is Cooper on? Because he rocks as many as he wants to be.
Well, he's the vice chair of PROC, which is where they are right now. But they can like rotate in and out on any other committee.
And you know what? Props to NP Nation out there as well, because without you folks watching, these videos do not get distribution at all. So this is our win.
This is a win for all Canadians because, again, like it just goes to show that you might think you're small, but you can have a huge impact on something as important as our democracy.
Even if you start a silly little program with 2 cartoon puppets that are the worst thing since Chucky. Great job.
And thank you to MP Cooper for bringing that up.
Now, not anyone can go out and collect signatures. You actually have to be authorized by someone running to do that.
No, oh, sorry, I almost cursed.
That was one of our other key points. Yeah, man. Okay, I'm not gonna just fanboy
Just
over
let it
this.
go. Let
Yeah.
it go.
So what would be difficult or for Elections Canada to simply undertake some kind of audit, not necessarily going through each and every person who signed, but picking up the phone or knocking on the door or communicating in some way to verify that, in fact, the individual who appears to have signed the paper did sign the paper, and that they did sign it understanding that they were endorsing a specific individual whose name they wished would appear on the ballot.
That's the last point, because that was the point where he made that that's what makes this forgery. Because if they're signing a nomination paper without a candidate name present, and then that's filled in after the fact and then given to Elections Canada, that's a violation of the act.
Well, and it's a violation of the law too, one would assume.
There are just a couple of points to answer, hopefully, your question. On the issue of blank names at the top, the name of the candidate has to be ascertained, or the potential prospective candidate. There cannot be a blank check. And we have refused in past election. The initial iterations of that initiative involved having a blank check. Basically, people...
That's huge.
That is huge.
Did you hear what he said?
Yeah. That they've rejected it.
They said, yeah, they said when the longest ballot ran in previous elections, they would submit them as blank. Wow. Wow. That is huge. How far are we into this? I need to remember this timestamp for later. 2 hours in. That is huge, folks, because that is proof that these guys have done it this way before. And my guess is that they either did it in error or I don't know what. But the fact that he knows and Elections Canada knows that they've submitted these with blank names at the top.
So are they doing it again and just filling in the name before submission? That's the question. And that's the question we asked.
Let's go. Let's go.
Signing on without an identified candidate. That is not acceptable. Okay, so it has to be a known candidate identified to the person who signs to support the nomination of that candidate. The issue of verification, as I said, we do not have on record signatures of Canadians, so there's nothing to compare to. It would really require an investigation to find out if these are false signatures. That is not something that we would do lightly. I don't think there's any suspicion that there was fraudulent conduct in those long ballot initiatives. We have no information that people forged signatures. If there was such information that was basically credible information or suspicion, we would refer that to the commissioner.
It's not necessarily forged signatures, but if you present someone 10 different papers and ask them to sign 10 different times, and then after the fact, the name of a candidate appears at the top of that form, and the form is altered after the signatures have been collected, then that raises questions, is it not, about the validity of that candidate and whether there was compliance with the Canada Elections Act?
It certainly does, but I'm not aware of any evidence to that effect.
We sent you evidence! We sent you our evidence! Now I'm mad. What?
I'm just going to my sent items,
okay,
folks.
You're going to see what day we sent the evidence.
And sorry for the smash on the table.
Sorry,
you can blame
that's
her.
my fault. I hope you're all not deaf now.
Yes.
What day?
July 25th.
July 25th.
At 12:12 p.m.
In the afternoon.
Elections Canada, if you're listening, you were sent a whole bunch of emails.
In his defense, perhaps it didn't make it up for him to him. Perhaps whoever was receiving the email was just like, "Oh, this looks like garbage."
Potentially fraudulent nominations, coordinated efforts to manipulate ballots, possible misrepresentation to Elections Canada. So
we did send all of our evidence to Elections Canada.
look at the look on Cooper's face, like, oh really? Oh really?
Well, perhaps you should be, and perhaps that evidence will be presented if you haven't seen it. But
No.
I guess
No.
Nice. Nice. I need to back this up. I need to back this up. Sorry, folks. Need to back this up.
You're gloating now.
No, I want to make sure I'm hearing this properly.
then that raises questions, is it not, about the validity of that candidate and whether there was compliance with the Canada Elections Act?
It certainly does, but I'm not aware of any evidence to that effect.
Well, perhaps you should be, and perhaps that evidence will be presented if you haven't seen it.